Hey folks, I'm Coach Mike. This is the EMDEM Show, courtesy of EMDEM Canada Multimedia Group and EMDEM Life Architects, where we build better bodies and we create better lives. So I've been excited for this call for a while. We got Janice Taylor. She's in the waiting room right now, but we're going to do a little bit of an intro. It's going to be super cool. We're going to be talking about emotional fitness, what that means, and how we can learn about our emotions and our mental state. So I want to get into Janice's accolades and stuff here right now for you guys. So Janice is a 3-time tech founder, emotional fitness pioneer, and creator of Wilson 4Q. With over 30 years of research into emotional pain, addiction, and trauma, she's built a revolutionary healing methodology now licensed across fintech, maternal health, and wellness sectors. She's a Harvard Master's candidate. She's raised over 15 million in venture capital. Wow. Worked with all 5 major sports leagues, which is sweet, and was appointed Honorary Captain of the Royal Canadian Navy. Her journey from a childhood shaped by addiction and scarcity to global stages like the TEDx stage and Oprah's ultimate viewers fuels her mission to help every human uncover their masterpiece. So I'm going to see if I can find her. I think she's backstage here. We'll have a little conversation. It's going to be super fun, and see if we can find her. There she is. Hello there, Janice. How are you? Good to see you again.
Nice to see you again. It feels like a minute.
Yeah. I've got a couple minutes for sure.
A couple minutes for sure from our stomping grounds in the prairies.
Yeah. I met you. Back in Regina, back in high school. Many moons ago. Yeah.
It's been a real couple minutes, decade or so.
So yeah, we had some emotional trauma go back then, and then how? So we can talk about Do you want to talk about we can talk a little bit about what went on back then.
Yeah, for sure.
And then how we go.
And then also we got to talk about sports, do we not? Because that's like back in sports. Isn't that you, Coach Mike? Like, should we not be?
Yep, sports are good.
Sports are good. Sports are good. Well, as you know, when we were kids, we kind of all like melted all kind of together, some different high schools. I think you were a South End kid though, weren't you?
Belfer, I don't know where, I live in the East.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. I'm a true North of Dewdney. So if anybody from Saskatchewan is watching this or listening to this, they'll know that I'm a true nod to the North of Dewdney kids. But we did kind of all mix together. It was we were that generation of the latchkey kids, so Gen Xers, like true pure Gen Xers. So even though you were in the South of Dewdney, everyone was sort of like running around on the streets. Parents were gone, getting divorces. You know, we were literally raising ourselves.
Oh yeah, it was fun.
Wasn't that a fun time? You know, I look at kids now, it's like nowhere near what we were dealing with.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like we just went and did our thing and came back home, checked in. There was no internet. We didn't have these cell phones and stuff. We're not like scrolling to check what's going.
No.
We had to write actual maps to go to parties, and we had to remember people's phone numbers, and
and I'll never forget, we met you guys at the Regina Exhibition Park, me and my friends, hanging out at the rides, and you were there with all your buddies.
Yeah.
And I remember it just because you guys had so much personality. And I was my friends wouldn't say that, but I was the designated ugly fat friend is what I thought. I was the Duff at the time, if you ever saw that movie. And everybody was always wanting to ask me about my friends. And so much of that high school life was me just basically matchmaking different boys from high schools that wanted to meet my friends. So it was an interesting time. I'll just say that. It was interesting.
Yeah, what I can remember, because I think you were ahead of your time, because you could talk and you were like intellectual and you can actually say different things other than the surface level conversation that people had, and you actually had depth to your conversation. You're talking about things way above people's heads other than just the stuff in high school that was going on. I remember
Yeah,
all that
thank
kind
you
of
for
stuff.
remembering that. That was a, you know, I think like when I graduated, one of my friends said, like, you know, I've always thought too much for my own good, but now I'm really happy I had that. But at the time, it was frustrating. I was quite bright, and even though we were growing up in the shit of the shit in Uplands, my dad was quite an addict as a kid, and so like he lived in North Central for a long time. And that was like early North Central too. Like we were kids, 8, 9 years old, running around, getting drunk, smoking cigarettes, stealing. Like that was kind of my life in North Central between like 8 till about 11. And then finally about 12, I said, you know, Mom, I probably shouldn't go there. My mom worked at Buy Right Drugs and then Shoppers and then taught piano. So she was just running all the time. And I was literally a kid of the village. Like in Uplands in Saskatchewan at that time period was all these families from all over the world. And like the Ukrainian, the Polish, the German families just, you know, took me in, fed me pierogies and cabbage rolls. And I had a really, really great family friend group. Like my friends' parents were like secondary parents to me. The Schultzes, the Kodalaks, and you know, like they all just were central to my life, and like the reason why I think I ever made it out and smart. And I stayed on the smart path, probably because I had seen all of that 8, 9, 10 years old. My sisters were 7 years older, 8 years older than me. So I was already at Tom parties, Martin parties as an 8-year-old. So by the time we went to do the parties with the Martin meatheads and all the other, you know, groups of folks and O'Neill, and I'd already been at those parties for years because my one sister went to Martin, the other one went to Tom, and they'd always fight. But I was 8 years old at those parties. So by the time we were doing it, I was bored stiff, like bored out of my mind. And I was also doing schoolwork ahead of time, mostly because I wanted to get the hell out of there, because I kind of saw what my life would look like if I stayed this path. Drugs was easy, alcohol was easy, you know, going to my dad's house, prostitution was easy. That was all around me as a kid. So I was like, I have to be smart. That's all I thought. I was like, I have to be smart.
So did you know when, like, because it's like, that's a good story going through all that stuff, and some people go into the ditch and fall into the ditch and go into like different path, but you chose a smart, like, how, is there something within you when you were born or going through the things you were going through that you knew you needed to go a different path, that this on the smart path and not the one to like, it's going to lead to this?
I definitely partied at an F ton enough to kind of realize, but I also would go to my dad's house and I was surrounded by people that were running stuff on the streets, you know, homelessness. Like I got to see it and I really could see. Then I go to my mom's house and it was deadly quiet. Like my mom worked 3 jobs. I was in the house by myself as a 9-year-old, but I could really see these 2 universes at the same time play out. And I was just smart enough that school was extremely easy for me, that I think that because it was easy for me, I was like, well, I might as well do that because this is my alternative. But I have to say, without being too mysticism about it, like every time I sort of would go towards the dark side, which was always available to me pretty much every day and every weekend, because at 8 years old, my mom was gone working all the time. And then she was, you know, trying to find a boyfriend. My dad was gonzo, like gonzo. So my older sisters were really sort of a central part there a lot, but they were teenagers and they wanted to party and have fun. So really as an 8-year-old, I became a kid of the village. And I have to say that every time I go to the dark side, I felt inside, like if someone were to grab you by the back of the shirt and kind of pull you out of it, like even though there was no one there, I felt like someone was tugging me saying, that's not for you. It wasn't until I got older that I understood that I was connected to something bigger than myself, and in many cases prevented me from going too far. Like I would go right to the edge, like we all did. But also during that time period, if you remember, we had lots of drinking and driving accidents. People were dying. We had friends who committed suicide, both of us. You know,
Mhm.
there was no, we had girls getting, you know, having babies in 15,
Yeah.
16, like
Crazy.
that's all of that. Then I had my home life, which was, for lack of a better term, fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And so I was like, there is only one path out of this shit for me. And
Yeah.
so that's why I never really even dated in high school, because I was paranoid
Oh,
about
yeah.
having a baby, and like I didn't want any of that. Like I was just like,
Yeah.
I got to get through this. So when I graduated, I had all these opportunities for scholarships because I was president of the school and I played sports, and like I was really involved in all the school things. And at the time, I knew it to pad my resume, if nothing else, to get
Mhm.
scholarship ready, because I had no way to go to school. We had no money.
Mhm.
So I was like, I got to get scholarships. So I was like knocking out the grades, but
Yeah.
then getting shit faced drunk on the weekends. And then I would show up. And I will tell one story. A guy that I went to high school, he shall remain nameless. He bet me $50 that that I couldn't write the grade 12 algebra exam, smashed drunk from the night before, and we stayed up all night.
Oh, really?
And so I was like, you're fucking on. I'm taking that. So
Yeah.
I wrote that exam and I got 102% because I answered the bonus question
Bonus
right.
question. Yeah.
And the teacher thought I cheated. I said, no, I didn't cheat, but I was smashed. And she said, what? You were smashed? I go, smashed. And so it was sort of, you know, a pride of that. I got $50 out of the deal, and away we went. So yeah, you know, that
Right
was sort of
on.
that whole part of that high school life was pretty wild for all of us. I
Oh my
remember
God.
your world too, right? Like both of our worlds in
Yeah.
Regina in the early 90s, late 80s.
Just crazy, crazy, crazy. That's all. Yeah. Just crazy. Just mayhem,
Mayhem.
chaos.
Fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was fun. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. We didn't
We
know. It's
had
like,
fun and it was mayhem. Like it
yeah.
was, so, you know, when I went to university, like I always had a dream I'd go to Harvard.
Hmm.
And I kind of wanted to be one of the few kids out of the neighborhood to go to Harvard and get a Harvard education. So it only took me, you know, 30 years later. Now I'm at Harvard, and it's pretty awesome. Just
Yes.
like as a personal achievement, from running around on North Central to Uplands viewing to Exhibition Park at all hours of the night. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of wild. I did go back to Regina a couple years ago. I got an honorary degree, or an honorary alumni award, and it was
Cool.
really good to kind of go back to the U of R and get that award after knowing, you know, the path we
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
went down.
Yeah. That was like definitely different. Different.
Wild.
So emotional fitness, because what is emotional fitness for people that don't know exactly what I know about fitness, getting into the gym and lifting weights and doing
Yeah.
cardiovascular and getting fit to play sports, but
Yeah.
emotional fitness, what is that
But
exactly?
I'm glad you asked me
Your
that,
world.
because, you know, as a kid, as you guys know too, and for anybody that's kind of been raised in rough, we were considered at-risk youth, is kind of what they
Mhm.
said. And even though in high school
At risk.
we were at risk, and so there was a very overzealous guidance counselor in high school who put me into AA programs and aftercare AA programs after school. So, and he was like, Janice, you know, we got to prevent this from happening to you. You have a 99 or an 85% chance of becoming an addict because your dad's an addict. So this
Mhm.
was sort of pumped to me. And some of my friends may remember I was running around like, you're an alcoholic. Everyone's an alcoholic. Oh my God. Because I was like learning all this information and losing my mind about it, because it felt like a life sentence. And so when I went to do my degree in psychology, it was more of like, here you have these symptoms and they fit in these diagnostic categories. And at the time, they had what was called the DSM-4. Now they have something called the DSM-5. And basically, if you have all these symptoms, they match it up with a disorder, a
Mhm.
psychological disorder or a diagnostic. Now, for me, growing up as an at-risk youth with an addict, as a dad, they're like, you're going to become an addict. And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I rejected in my soul, not having
Mhm.
any languaging, that
Mhm.
that was going to be my fate. I just, in my soul, rejected that placement of that bucket. And I thought, how many people have been placed in these kind of buckets trying to make themselves fit with something that they're told is wrong with them? And so when I started to do my degree in psychology, I started to question some of that material. And I started to question,
They don't
like,
like that. They don't like you
no, no,
questioning
no.
their
It's like, just because you have a symptom doesn't necessarily mean that it's a direct route to a disorder or a disease. And so I thought, well, is addiction really a disease? I wanted to know. And I said, is there any other explanation for these symptoms that's not a disorder? And that became a 30-year study for me. And I
Wow.
wanted to look across the vastness of vernacular of theories, whether it be psychological, philosophy, neuroscience, biology, even looking at religious studies, even though I never was raised in religion. I thought, what are they all saying, albeit differently, about the human experience that could be a different explanation to symptoms that we all have? And what I discovered was that emotional fitness is a network of several different systems within our body, and it's its own category of wellness. Most people put emotion with mental health. So they say mental and emotional health. They're actually two different categories of wellness. Mental health is to serve a psychopathology of what is going on that may or may be a disorder. Emotional fitness is for all of us. We all are humans, so therefore we have emotion. Not all of us have mental health issues, but all of us have emotion. And so, was there a better way to first define a science to give it its own category of wellness? And was there a better way for us to look at symptoms, and could they be healed? And that became part of the lifelong study, which is now where I'm at Harvard, is going to school to eventually prove that emotional fitness is its own science, just like physical fitness has its own science. And there is a process to heal that emotional injury, and everyone has it. There's no shame and blame. You don't need to pontificate what happened to you at 7 in order to heal this emotional injury, but you can become emotionally fit. And there's a process, just like there's a process for physical fitness to get fit, there is a process for an emotional fitness and emotional system.
Wow. So you're at the is there anybody else in the world doing this, or you're
Not,
basically at the
not really.
forefront of like, wow,
Yeah.
that's like
A lot of
amazing.
people do emotional intelligence, or they put emotion with mental fitness as though they're the same thing. I wanted it to be its own category and have a common science, just like physical fitness, garbage in, garbage out, and you need to move. That's the science. I wanted to say, well, emotion works like this, and it's a system. And it doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, your race, it doesn't matter what country you're from. If you're a human, you have an emotional system. And most people have an emotional injury, 2 emotional injuries that stay injured between 40 and 60 years.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter what happened to you. It doesn't matter the events around the trauma. In most cases, it's just an injury. It'd be like having a bum knee. And I wanted to say, could I heal those emotional injuries? And the answer is yes. Now, I will caveat to say some traumas will create a psychopathology of a mental health disorder. There is a connection between that, but not all of them. And the ones that do are more rare. So right now we've got mental health everywhere. Mental health, mental health, mental health, mental health. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Yes, there is a percentage of the population that will have true mental health issues.
Yeah.
All of us have emotional pain injuries, and those can be healed and it can be optimized. And that was for me, hopefully, as I finish this study, is going to become my contribution to the field of study, mostly because I didn't accept what was placed on me as a
That's
kid.
good. Yeah.
And I wanted to find a scientific explanation for it.
So within you, because how many people have the ability to do that when someone in a position of authority says, Janice, this is what you are, this is what you're diagnosed as, and this is what you have to look forward to for the rest of your life. So you just said, fuck it, I'm not listening to you, and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. In fact, I would tell you, like, right at graduation, that guy had arranged a truck to send me to North Dakota for a 6-week rehab program. The day after I graduated, He had a van ready to go to load me up, to send me to this facility. I think North Dakota facility is still there. And thank God my mom, who like worked like a maniac, who I never really saw much as a kid after 6, but all of a sudden she comes rip roaring, and she told me after, he called her. And the one time my mom is at home, so if you believe in any kind of divine intervention, my mom was never home. She worked all the time. The one time she answers the phone, it happens to be this guy who's telling my mom that I'm sick, and I have an 85% chance that my fate is that I will become a chronic addict. And he's got a van ready for me to take me to this facility to drive me out. And you know what my mom said? She'll be fine. Go fuck yourself.
There you go. That's perfect.
The one time my mom like showed up was to say, she'll be fine. Go fuck yourself. And so, you know, like, it was an intervention, but I think for anybody that's listening, the thing about trusting yourself and listening to yourself is really the true point of healing. Like, out of all of the things that people are trying to throw at themselves, the one thing where the emotional injury shows up the most is sometimes we don't trust our inner wisdom. We don't trust our inner selves. And that bond with our inner voice is what gets broken, that we listen to all the things outside of ourselves. And so part of the healing journey is like to reform that bond, because it was always your bond. It was there at your birth, but because of emotional pain, the bond gets broken. And so you may not trust yourself enough. You may not listen to the inner voice enough. You may not really allow things to be shown to you.
Wow.
And I have to say that inner fortitude is probably what saved my life on a million occasions. Like, now I look back to the time I didn't get in the car because I thought, I think about the time that I saw the guy lurking around, and I, like, as a little girl, moved my dresser in front of the door so no one could come in. Like, I remember all those moments where I had an instinct to protect myself. And I'm thankful for that, because it did save my life on numerous occasions, because we were in full exposure. Like,
so
full.
Yeah, that right there, what you just said, seems like we have an internal security system built into our emotions. Is that somewhat?
Yes, that is exactly it. So your emotional system regulates itself just like your oxygen does. Like, do you notice your breathing? It's happening, right? Like, you don't have to think about breathing because it's just happening. You need to think about your emotional system. Is that automatic? But when it's injured, it's not. So when it's injured, it's only half optimized, meaning that when it's injured, you're not trusting this, but it's an injury. It's not severed and dead. It's just an injury. No different again if you had a knee injury. So if you think about it like an injury, you can hone it, you can fix it. So then it's a superpower. And so emotional system is like that. But because of emotional pain that happened to us in our development, in our brain, in our whole system, it injured it. So if someone took like almost like, you know, like a Tanya Harding to it, you know, and kind of whomped it on the knee, and now it's injured. And now we're going at half capacity. And so we're shaming people. Why don't you have willpower? Why don't you just stop this?
Wow.
Why don't you do that? When in fact, they can't, because it's injured.
So how do you pinpoint that? So if I broke my arm or hurt my shoulder or whatever it is in my body, I know because it's there and I can see it. But an emotional injury could be going back. How do you know what's injured and what?
It took 30 years for me to pinpoint.
Yeah.
And then it took me to look through the different schools of thought from psychology. What does philosophy say about this?
Yeah, this is amazing. You're
like,
so wow.
I sort of was like, okay, well, because this is what I thought, Mike, for sure. I thought, well, okay, how do I take a person like me or a guy like us that grew up that goes, fuck God and really lazy and fuck psychology because that's psychobabble. But hey, give me the hardcore science. I was like, how do I take a farmer in Saskatchewan who's potentially cynical and convince them that they have an emotional system? I literally I give so much love to my prairie roots for this, because all I could think was, if the farmer came off the combine, could I convince him he had an emotional system without him saying, this is woo garbage, get out of my face, right? So I was like, how do I break this down? And so I basically looked across the different schools of thought, saw what they were all saying about the first 10 years of life. So I took early child psychology, I took Carl Jung, I took religion, I took brain development and neuroscience. I looked at philosophers from Descartes to even Aristotle and said, what do they all say about the human experience in the first 10 years of life? And that's when I could really start to pinpoint, okay, what is the symptom of an emotional injury? And then I looked at the symptoms, and then I was able to trace it back to events that happened within those first 10 years of life. And so in essence, I essentially asked the question. I was living in Silicon Valley. I'd just gone to the Oprah show. I'm in the middle of Silicon Valley. I was picked out of Canada by Stephen Harper's government at the time. They had decided to pilot a program for women tech founders. And because I'd gone to the Oprah show, I had a bit of a profile because I was plucked out of Saskatchewan to go to the Oprah show. So I'm living in Silicon Valley. I'm in the belly of the beast. And I'm going, okay, well, this technology's the new heroin. And I really was concerned about it because I knew about behavior conditioning and Pavlov and Pavlov's dog. And I was like, great, we're going to live inside of this. So what's going to be injured in this process of technology when we all get smartphones? And the interesting thing was, I thought, well, what makes us different from animals? Like, animals are like this. We are a mammal, but what makes humans different than animals? And I literally had to ask that question because there was so many things that were similar about us being similar to animals. And there was two things that an animal doesn't have that only humans do. Because some would argue that animals have a soul. I didn't enter that conversation. I was like, what are two systems that are part of an emotional system that humans have that animals don't? And that helped me pinpoint the two injuries. And that helped me see that they were fundamental to being human and that they needed to be optimized. And when they're not optimized, they show a specific symptomology. And when I started to look at the symptoms, these two injuries showed up in every case.
Wow.
And that's how I was able to deduce down that these two injuries happened before we were 10 and before we even knew that we had a thought about them. And that they didn't show up until our 20s and 30s and 40s in the injury really profoundly. They showed up in our teen years, but they were masked by much of our hormonal growth. And so once we passed 25, it's when these two injuries seem to still linger. And then I had to examine those injuries inside of technology, and hence why I went into the tech industry and became a tech founder.
Wow. So does it differentiate itself between male and female, or beyond the male and the female? It's the same across the board, no matter what?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the age. It stays injured in most people between 40 and 60 years, and then it manifests into disease. In almost every race, culture, religion, didn't matter. Didn't matter if you had perfect parents or no parents, the injury was still present. It didn't matter if you were the wealthiest or the poorest, the injury was still present. So there was no difference. If you were human, about 99% of the world will have this emotional injury to some degree.
So could somebody, because you sound like you're one of the most valuable people on the planet by what you're talking about here right now. So could somebody, like, identify by themselves without having to see somebody like you to go through it? I can identify, what's my injury, then I can walk myself through what I need to do to,
Exactly. It's no different than if you were, again, if you went and saw a fitness trainer, they give you a bit of knowledge and then you're like, sayonara, I'm good, I'll go run my race.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to think about emotion in the same way. However, now if you sort of get to the complexity of an industry, so an industry that has a business model that is built around a repeat customer, and the delivery of information around anything that is emotional or mental health is meaning that one person's an expert and the other goes to them for that expertise. That's the model. Well, my question was, where do they start? Where do they end? How long? What's the cadence? And does it even work? Those are my questions.
What?
Yes. So then that would be like, well, why don't they already have all their knowledge? It's their body.
Yeah.
So it's your body. And so why don't we have just as much knowledge on our emotional system as we do about our physical body? Now, if I were to ask someone about their physical diet, they type, I can't eat carbs, can only eat this, I have this calories, I don't eat before 5. Like I do the things, I'm like, how do you work out? Oh, I got to do CrossFit, I'm doing some kettlebell. Like people will tell you
Mm-hmm.
their physical regiment
Mm-hmm.
dialed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you ask them, tell me about your emotional system.
Nothing.
Nothing. And I asked why. Why?
Yeah, because what's that? What did they give you? Like, we don't know.
Well,
We haven't studied that. We don't know what
it's
we're.
extremely complex, but most of it has the fact, first of all, that emotional fitness for us and motion and mental health are clumped together as the same system.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the first problem that I saw. They needed to be separated. Now, they still work together, just like the physical body works with that, but we needed to see them as separate
entities. Yeah.
Yes. And as long as we saw them as together, we left it into a diagnostic. Now, this comes down to the work you probably do. When you go see a therapist, what is the first thing a therapist says? They say, what's wrong? It's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Start somebody out of the gate. Oh, fuck, what's wrong with me? Now, if you go see a physical fitness person and the fitness trainer goes, tell me what you want. I want to fit my wedding dress. I want to run this. I want to go into a workout. I want.
Mm-hmm.
2 different pathways, 2 different mindsets. So since you're talking about mindset, 2 different out of the gate from the very start thought patterns and mindsets as to these 2 worlds. I go this way, something's wrong. I go this way, something I want. And so this is why we say it's emotional fitness, because I say to people, what do you want? I want to get married. I want to make I want to build a dream. I want to play pro sports. I want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's different. Great. If you want those things, then you have to perfect and optimize your emotional system, which means you also have to heal your emotional injuries. Then they say, great, how do I heal it? How long does it take me? I'm glad you asked. So that sort of right away starts to set it up for success.
Yeah.
Now, after that, you can then say, do I still have the symptoms? And does mental health make sense? Then you can say, do I have a psychopathology, depression? Then do I have that? But I would argue you shouldn't start with what's wrong. You need to start with what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes the shape of how that works.
That'll drive someone to it. Yeah, if you start with what's wrong, then you're starting from a negative connotation. And then if you're starting with where you want to go instead of crashing into the wall, then you can, build off of that a little bit better.
Yes.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
And this is why we're now working in sports again. After my first career in sports, I'm back in pro sports because I think sports are a good place to not only test this further. I think they're good role models for this. I think it's a good example of a compressed emotional system. And I think that many of what, is happening to young athletes today is quite antiquated. And it shows up in the symptomology, right? You're seeing more kids.
It's huge.
Have depression, anxiety, suicide rates, that young NFL player. You're also seeing sexual dysfunctions. So you're also seeing increased levels of aggression. Now they're just trying to throw all, the hockey player boys away, for example, but that's actually a symptom of emotional pain and trauma in many cases, right? So as opposed to saying shame, 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 we have to examine, is there an acceleration of emotional injuries in these pressure cooker systems? And the answer in these industries is these athletes are under extraordinary pressure cooker, more than we even were when we were kids, because the spotlight on them, they have no downtime, they have no privacy, they're exposed to more. And especially now that really live sports specifically is the only game in town where all humans are geared onto it. So you're taking all of that emotional pain focus, right? People, high hopes and dreams, go Riders. Finally, they won a great, but there is these, so you sort of think about the pressure cooker of this, and everything has to be now. There's no longevity of watching an athlete even develop emotionally. They're expected day one, you better be ready to go, or they're throwing you out for the next 10 guys are lining up behind that kid.
Yeah, like that Trey Savage story, to cut you off, from the Blue Jays there, that started pitcher coming from like double-A ball and boot. Like, that's crazy,
right? Like,
mentally, how do you handle that? Like,
yeah, like, he's a good example. Then look at like JJ McCarthy in the NFL right now, right? Like, that is a perfect example of the yips as well, which is a very common phenomenon in sport, right? So he's even forgetting to throw the football. Like, you could see his whole emotional system is just collapsing in front of our eyes. And, and that's a common, like, it just, and it's very fixable. That's the thing. But by our society's terms, that, they'll just whip that out, right? So, but that's extremely fixable. That's a fixable entity, because it's the emotional system that can actually be optimized. So that's a big part of it in sport.
So this is almost like a bigger breakthrough than this AI stuff that's going on right now, because it's because the human being needs these things, mentally and emotionally, and separate working together, and the spiritual and then the bodies, and it's
being in AI, I've been in AI for a long time, and my first startup was digital animation and early AI technology that did language filtering in real time. So we were able to examine what kids would say well before sort of even, like, this was 2014. We were working with pro sports teams and we took over kids clubs. And so I was in that environment already. And, seeing sort of the acceleration of AI now, in many cases, 99% of it is a joke and ridiculous. But there's a 1% of it that's really good, but then there's a whole other shit bag full of it that's going to really compile on the emotional injury and prevent people from healing that emotional system, because most of the technology is designed to take you away from the self, not further to the self. So it's wired for you to not, when you were saying about that internal safety valve that everybody has, the way and this is why I lived in Silicon Valley and was like immersed in it, living there. And we had opportunities to be at Apple. I was at head offices of Facebook. I was raising my hand in many, many boardrooms saying that this is bad and going to get worse. Like, I was kicked out of rooms, for
they don't like that.
Because I was just like, holy crap. Because most of the technology, the way that it's built for a 5-year-old mentality. And it's built with heavy behavior conditioning. So beyond dopamine, it's built to condition to your lowest common denominator of self. So whatever you fear the most, it will accelerate your fears. Wow. And it will accelerate you and separate you further from what you know to be true. So you will accept false more than you will accept what is true. It is by its very nature, like, evil in its entity, because you end up relying on the machine, not the self. Now, we are the greatest superpowers in the planet because we are born with a soul. And that is an engine in itself, and it is hardwired into us as human beings, and it is always available for us. However, these machines condition you away from that superpower, so that you believe the machine knows more than you do. And then you have to look at who's responsible, because the thing about AI is only as good as its trainers. Just like a lion can only be as good as its trainers. And, but it's still a fucking circus.
Yeah.
Like, it's still a circus.
Don't forget that part. Yeah.
And it can still flip on itself. So, but there's still humans that train the AI models. And so the AI models that are today are trained by very irresponsible, money hungry, morally corrupt, morally vacant, unethical, because all they care about is winning the land. It's a land grab in AI. So who's grabbing the biggest market share? it's worse than it was in Oklahoma where you were on the back of a horse trying to put your stake in the land. It's kind of, there's people out there gunning for that because it's a land share, because there's only so much human attention that is available. And so whatever human attention they can absorb, their value increases. So the way that they've used human attention, the only predictable model is going back to the 1920s, which was with B.F. Skinner and Pavlov's dog. And so as long as you haven't healed, you'll be susceptible to the machine. But if you heal your emotional system, you are not susceptible to the machine.
Perfect. We need to heal a bunch of people here. It sounds like it.
Yes, you need to be connected to the emotional system that you have, not just for resilience and regulation, but for true insight into what makes you magical.
So what are three things like a normal human being can do that doesn't have any idea exactly anything you just talked about that they can start doing like today?
Great question.
They can heal themselves emotionally.
Yeah. One thing that humans need to do is try to extend any kind of delay gratification. So like whatever your instant gratification is, what you can do right now is give it time.
Yeah.
Because that's actually a muscle. In most people, it's atrophied. So wherever you can, just extend that muscle just to make it uncomfortable. Get to a place of uncomfortable. It's no different than doing squats for the first time. And everybody hates doing squats because your ass burns for days. It's kind of the same concept of that. So wherever possible, try to do it. Don't try to do it with things that you can't, but do it with things that you're willing to try. Like, don't pick up your phone for the first 10 minutes in the morning just to be uncomfortable. If you don't want to not drink the beer or drink the beer, that's not abstinence is not the goal. The goal is to extend the muscle and to reignite it.
So it's like delaying pleasure. It's painful. That's short-term pain for the long-term pleasure. So delaying pleasure is from getting pleasure from all these things. So you can delay the pleasure
micro level. Yeah, like even 10 minutes a day. Like you don't need to do it every day. You don't need to do it all day. You just start to insert at different times in your day, micro dosing uncomfortable delay gratification. That reignites you. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have to like be aware that you are actually, going to get you have to talk to yourself. Okay, I'm going to get my phone right now, but no, I'm going to go over here.
It could be for anything. Like if you don't go for the walk after supper and you don't usually like that, it doesn't have to be your phone. It just needs to be anything that you delay that you are not in the body. So like, and you can just do micro amounts where you're in the body. I don't even mean meditate or anything. I just mean like be uncomfortable in your body for like 10 minutes. Go to the grocery store or go to the doctor's office and don't pick up your phone. Just sit there and watch everyone.
Yeah.
Be on the elevator and don't pick up your phone. Ride the elevator staring at everyone. Be in an airport and just sit there and don't have anything that preoccupies you. That's like, those are easy things to start firing the muscle because this is intuition. This is an intuitive muscle that you have. You're born with this ability. The second is to observe human behavior more than react to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you want to like fire off that email to prove them wrong, silence is golden. It's like a bad boyfriend. It's like emotionally unavailable. Just silence is golden. So anytime you can choose, you don't have to be a 10. Choose no reaction. That's also a muscle. And then just be with the feeling and see how uncomfortable it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because the impulse of human interaction, human addiction is the one addiction we all have. We all want to react and prove our points all the time. So sit with the uncomfortableness, even if you're right, even if you disagree.
Yeah.
Even if you've got a great thing to say back. Just be with it and watch yourself go through the process of that. If you don't do it, it's like a tick in your fuel bucket of your emotional system.
Wow.
Like that's a big one. Like you lock that shit down. Now you don't have to be that way every day. Just choose moments in the day. And then at the end of the day, kind of celebrate and recognize what the feeling was in those moments. That's one simple thing. The other big thing that I do for everybody, go to some moment between the ages of birth and 10. Whatever, something pops in your head, like the first time you played baseball, whatever year it was. So let's say, like for me, 1983 is my year. When I have feelings that are uncomfortable, I have a playlist that's 1983. I listen to only music of that year. So the third thing to do is like, know you have what we call the big P between birth and 10. It was the moment you left your true self behind and you started to live in this false self. You choose that year and you drum out to that music for 20 minutes a day.
Interesting.
When you feel sad, anxious, worried about the future, want to know what to do, hit that playlist. Bring yourself back to what could have been a painful moment. So perhaps it was the year of your parents' divorce. Could have been when a sibling was born. That's often when the big P happens. So if you were 2, you go to the year at 2. Even if you may not have a memory of it in your consciousness, your subconscious knows the year. And that's the year you play a playlist. And you just pull all the hits just of that year, 20 minutes a day.
Wow. That's
super powerful, super powerful. So those are my 3 tips. There is a 12-step 3-phase process that we do to actually heal the emotional injury. And we put people through this emotional fitness all the time. And it's extremely powerful. And the injury can be healed. So I think one of the things that I definitely leave with your listeners and viewers is, when someone says you'll always be healing, you can never be healed, you can't, that's actual bullshit. There's no evidence to support that. The second thing I'd say on that is that being trauma informed and having to know and have a memory of your trauma, also bullshit, not necessary. The only question that someone needs to ask themselves is, can you accept that you have an emotional injury, period?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you hurt your back and you don't know how you hurt it, but it's hurt, do you spend 2 years in therapy pontificating how you hurt your back?
No.
It's nonsensical. It's nonsensical. You go, my back's hurt. The doctor says, here you go. Then he goes, see the physiotherapist and the massage and you're good to go. You need to think about emotional injury in the same way. So the only question to ask yourself is, can you accept you have it, even if you don't have memory? And if you can accept that you have an emotional injury, then you can heal it.
Wow.
It's that simple.
Very good, Janice. This is like perfect for what's going on right now.
It really is. It really is. I appreciate you having me on your show to talk about this.
This helps a lot because I was just discussing this with a friend here the other day. We're going over exactly almost what you're talking about here. And sweet.
Yeah, all I did was give it a little bit of language and context and structure, which again, I have to say, if I didn't grow up in the prairies with all of our practical roots, we're so practical in our nature. That's what I love about being a prairie. Like, you can never take the prairie girl out of me. I will always say that all of this theory was born in Regina, Saskatchewan and uplands. I will say that I am who I am because of the families in Saskatchewan. I love being from Saskatchewan. I'm so goddamn proud of being from Saskatchewan. Prairie people are really, in our nature, very practical. And so I created a very practical theory and solution that honors those prairie roots. So it's a big part of who I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the world needs you and everything you have to offer on this, especially all the sports people too, and everybody in every walk of life definitely needs to get in touch with themselves, their true self, their authentic self, and be able to
heal. It's so, emotional fitness is so attainable. There's no woo in it. It's pure science. There's no like gobbledygook of anything. It's your emotional system. You just don't know you have it. And if you know it, you can heal it. And it's yours. And it's, there is a divine right to that. And so, the reason why I love the work we do is because it's life-giving. We're not here to find out what's wrong with you. We think everything's actually quite right. But you have an injury. So let's heal it so you can really, shoot to the moon and go after your dreams and become whatever the fuck you want to become. there, we're a long way from the shit that we grew up in, right? And a lot of people are, but they reach a certain plateau. And it's when you're at the plateaus that emotional fitness is most critical, because that's what's going to take you forward. It is the last quarter mile. It is the optimization that's necessary. But if you're looking for love, you want to make $1 million, you want to build a dream, you want to write a book, you want to build a movie, you want to go live in Tibet, whatever it is, the emotional fitness is a necessary part of that next milestone, and you can't get around it. It will always be there. It is waiting for you. So you might as well just go inward and feel it. Like, don't waste any more of your time looking for it to be something else. It's not something else, because I searched for 30 goddamn years. So, just,
might as well just do it. Just do it. Yeah.
Just do it. Just do it and get on with it. Yeah.
So how would people get a hold of you if they want to work with you? Or
I have a whole team. So I have a team of coaches. So there's a couple different ways that you can work with us. One, you can become an emotional fitness coach and come into my school, and I teach you this, and then you can actually run your own practice. Come to our website at ahahealing.com. You can also go to Wilson 4Q. We have ongoing pilots with professional sports. We're currently in the NHL, going to be moving into the NFL. If you are wanting to do this work as a coach and facilitator, you can also go to the website. If you're looking to just do this for yourself, also go to the website, and I have coaches trained in all different life situations. So emotional fitness for perimenopause, emotional fitness for men's health, emotional fitness for moms. So we have all of the categories of wellness for people to really optimize and to heal specific in their categories. So you can check us out there.
Yeah, cool. Sports. Yeah, I think I'll have to get in contact with you a little bit more to
Yes, I think you should. Yes.
See how I can help you.
Yes, that would be terrific. And so I have loved this. Thank you for having me. This has been so fun.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, good reminiscing again about back in the old days of Regina. And then this is unbelievable what you got going on here, and it's perfect. Good timing with this. Yeah.
I think the timing is finally right for me. I've been ahead of my time, as you know, knowing me in high school. I was ahead of my time then.
Yeah, because you would just talk. You would talk about business. You talk about lives, because that's what I like to talk about. But no one. There's nobody. Nobody at all.
We were both very unique.
Nothing.
No, I just could not talk about the nonsense.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Of who was dating who, and I just.
Just didn't make any sense. And why there's more things to do, and we have to get ready for life and
I definitely knew we were built for something else. That's for sure. I definitely knew there was something in the water for me in some regards. So I'm definitely happy to be coming out the other side of this. That's for sure. So, and again, it's still honoring the roots that we came from, right? I love where we come from. I will never change that. I tell everybody in every meeting, I'm from Saskatchewan. I'm born in Saskatchewan. I love being from Saskatchewan. So it's still cool, even though I'm going to be living in Vancouver. And then even when I was signing all the sports leagues, one really quick story for the Rider fans, if they happen to be listening to this. I went to work with the NFLPA. I went to the NFL, and I'm in Washington, D.C. I'm meeting with the NFL. And I kid you not, as soon as I said, I'm Janice Taylor, this is the company I run, we were going to do it. We did a deal with the NFL Players Association. And when I was there, I said, I'm from Saskatchewan. A guy at the back of the room went, "Go Riders. Go Riders." He said, "Go Riders." And I said, "Oh my God." And then he was like, "Oh, I know." I go, "Oh, you know." It was so funny. It was so funny. Then I signed the Lakers. And when I went to work at the Lakers, the head of marketing, he goes, "Oh, my grandfather's from Saskatchewan." And then when I signed and worked with the Blackhawks, the moment I started to talk, which Jonathan Toews was the captain at the time, they said, I started to talk and they laughed at me. I said, "Why are you laughing at me?" They're like, "You're so from the prairies." They thought I sounded like Jonathan Toews when I talked. So this has been my calling card through all of my work in pro sports. So I want to give love to the Rider and the Rider fan. And I'm so glad we finally won the Grey Cup.
Yeah. It's a long time coming, but it was pretty sweet.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Janice. You're
it was so fun.
Awesome for sure.
Thank you for having me. And you'll give me a copy of this so we can share this on our socials, Mike?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much. Talk to you.